After watching this horror thriller film, I wonder if there's going to be a sequel called Stay. Today on the channel, I'm going to be talking about a horror thriller film called Leave that will be premiering on Shudder on March the 17th, but is it worth your time? Well, let's talk about it. A young woman tries to find her origins after having been abandoned as an infant at a cemetery wrapped in a cloth with satanic symbols. But as she gets closer to answers, a malevolent spirit is telling her to leave. The film stars Alicia Von Rittberg, Herman Tommeraas, Stig Amdim, Ellen Dorrit Peterson, and Morten Holst, and was directed by Herron, and he's done mainly TV movies, but he's also done some music videos for Bass Hunter and also Tayo Cruz. Before I actually checked out Leave, I did see what the IMDb score was for this film. I'm always kind of curious what kind of score these films on Shudder are going to really have with the public, and I was just a little bit interested to see what the actual score was on IMDb. I don't really go by those scores, but I just find it's really interesting what those scores usually are. The biggest standout that I can say about this film is it is on a $1.9 million budget. What I noticed about this film is the cinematography. It's done really well. I think there was a lot of care put into the cinematography and the way that the film was shot. And I think in general, the sights really do elevate the film and make it to be kind of a standout within the film. But really, I don't really have a lot of positives for this film. It's not really a film that I can say that I really enjoyed, mainly because it just wasn't a film that I really gravitated to for most of the film. So you have this character named Hunter, and she was abandoned as a baby at a cemetery. And later, as they show later down the road, she is adopted and she supposedly is going to college. But instead of going to college, she ends up taking a detour and she goes out of the country to go find out what her origins were, and she wants to find out what happened to her parents. Majority of the film is Hunter really trying to figure out what happened to her parents. So we do find out a little bit of what we call, I guess, a myth of what happened to her mother, and then her father, we actually find out where he is actually located. But said when he's in this location, he eventually gets out of this supposed location that he's at, which was never explained. Throughout this film, it has a slow, draggy kind of pace. There is some portions in the film where the lighting is too bright, and there's other portions in this film where I felt that the lighting was too dark and you couldn't see anything. I never felt scared in this movie. I really have trouble really understanding why this film goes to Shudder, mainly because I just don't think this is really much of a horror movie. It's mainly finding out the drama about this girl's family. Now, of course, it has a few little scenes where it talks about Satanism and satanic kind of rituals and stuff, and it also does mention this band, a black metal band. But what was really disappointing about that black metal band is they don't have any black metal music in this. The music in this is pretty kind of standard, I would say. I don't really think it really elevates the film. And I think what also this film actually lacks is any tension. It just feels like you're going from scene to scene. This girl Hunter is meeting a different bunch of family members, a different bunch of people, but it just doesn't seem like it really is building up to anything. There's a couple scenes where you have some darker imagery, darker kind of shadows and such, but again, that just doesn't really do anything for me. And we've seen this time and time again with Shudder films where they do have those kind of crazy little imagery, but I don't think it overdoes the imagery in this film. I just don't think there's a lot of parts that really make it a horror film. And beyond the fact that Hunter is actually looking to see what happened to her mother after she does find out what happened to her father, this film, it doesn't really have a lot of hook to it because she's looking for this supposed diary of her mother, and that's really the big kind of, I guess, drawing of this film. But at the same time, when she's looking for this diary, it's just not that appealing to me. It just feels kind of slow. It feels dragged out. The movie feels like it's really long, and there are certain portions of this film where you find out certain things about said character and her past, and some of it is summed up so quickly that it just doesn't seem like this film needs to be an hour and 45 minutes. I think you could have cut maybe 20 minutes of this film. I think it would have worked as a tighter narrative. I just felt like the film, you were just kind of waiting for something to happen, and it just never really does. And by the time the end really wraps up, I just didn't really care at that point, and I was just really bored at that point. I think the main problem for this film is overall the director hasn't really done any actual films. He's done a lot of TV movies and music videos, and I just don't think the experience, and even the actual writer that wrote this film, I looked at some of the stuff that he's done. Looks like he's done a few small little foreign films, but a lot of TV kind of specials and movies, and I think that just really differs from a full-length movie. And realistically, when I was watching this movie, I really did think this looked like more of a nighttime, really like midnight kind of movie that would be on really late at night, maybe like on like the Sci-Fi Channel or something. And it just didn't really ever really hook me on. And some other things that I have heard about this film, and just looking at other people's reviews of what they thought about this film, is they talk about the accents in this film. I think the accents, they can fade a little bit here in and out. I think mainly for this whole acting experience for most of these actors and actresses, I think they put on okay performances, but I think mainly I just don't really have a big love between these characters in general, and this film overall for me was just kind of a bore fest. I would give a score of this film a 1.5 out of 5. Are you going to be checking out Leave? If you have checked out Leave, let me know in the comments what you thought about this film. Thank you guys for watching this review, and I will see you guys on my next review.